I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong.
Welcome back, guys, to Hounds to Heroes. Today I have Katie and her service dog Kazoo. So here's a little bit of information about them. So today we have Katie and her service dog in training Kazoo with us. Katie is in college to become a dog trainer. Then she is going to get her certification as well to be a service dog trainer. Katie's originally tried to go through a program, but they didn't not qualify. So now she is fully owner training Kazoo herself. Katie has over 4,000 followers on TikTok. She posts service dog content, but provides also fun videos as well. Let's get started in this interview, shall we?
Question to you is how is being in school while also training your service dog going?
It is definitely difficult because I cannot always put my full attention to her, but I cannot always put my full attention towards school. So I have to kind of learn to balance, dealing with her, but also dealing with school, which is the nice thing. My trainer, and I love her for this, is allowing me to bring Kazoo with so I can work with her while doing school.
Oh, that's awesome. Because in my state, service dogs in training are allowed to go anywhere public.
Right, and we had that issue for a little bit, but thankfully, most of my college was online, and now I'm more just doing in person externship program.
Okay.
Which is a little bit easier because she's like, well, we're training dogs anyways, so you might as well bring her because it'll give her experience. I'm like, perfect, thank you.
Awesome.
I was like, she's in training, right? She's not fully trained yet, and she's like, yeah, no.
That's awesome, though. That I'm really glad that that's happened. So once you get certified, what are your plans to do in the future?
So once I get certified, I'm gonna be opening up my own business eventually, and taking dogs from shelters, from rescues, anywhere I can, and turning them into service dogs, and then giving them to people who may not be able to afford a program dog.
Oh, that's awesome.
They don't know how to train a dog themselves, but they can't afford, the $20,000 for a program dog.
Right.
So it's a in between of here you go, this is how, here's how I can help you.
That's actually awesome because I know that Angel, she trains service dogs as well as much as possible, and she gives them out to people and everything.
And that's where Kazoo is, because she's well, first of all, still in training, but she's a owner trained dog because I couldn't afford a program dog. And a lot of my training high you, thanks to a lot of people in the community willing to help, because I was coming in as a new as a new handler, not knowing what to do, and they're like, yeah, this is what you need to do.
Right. So my next question for you is how have you ever ran into fakes before, and if so, how did it go?
Yes, I have ran into fakes. We were actually in Target, and someone had a German Shepherd in there on a flexi leash on a prong, and the flexi leash had broke, and he went after Kazoo. Thankfully, I was able to have my friend pick up Kazoo to hold her so she was not attacked, and I was able to get a hold of the dog to get the dog away from Kazoo before she got attacked.
That's scary. My service dog actually got attacked.
Yeah, and that's what happened with Kazoo, because we were actually in the pet store. This was another fake service dog. They had their dog in a vest, and it was off leash. And it saw Kazoo, and it jumped out of the owner's arms. And I was in the midst of having an episode, so I was not paying attention to what my surroundings was. And I come to the dog going at her face. And I started screaming, get your dog, before I end up kicking it. And thankfully the vet ended up running out and was able to break up the dogs. And I'm sitting here a wreck. Kazoo's obviously distraught because she was just attacked.
Right.
And it was just that's where my biggest thing when I say to people, when I see so many people bring pets where they don't belong, I said, I understand that you don't get what can happen, but we're living proof of what can happen to our dogs if, God forbid, they were ever attacked.
Right. And I think when people they like to say that we're privileged to have our dogs, but I don't think it's a privilege. I think it's more like we need our dogs to survive at the end of the day, but to like because they're medical equipment, but it's also more of a hassle at the same time as well. Because yeah, I get to bring my dog with me, but at the same time is I get people staring at me. I get people wanting to pet my dog. I get people that stop me when I'm with my 16-month-old and 5-month-old.
Right, and like that's where it is with like kazoo. Anytime I'm out with friends or family, I get stopped. Oh, like, can I talk to you about your dog? And it's like I don't mind answering questions, but it's like some days I just don't want to answer questions,
Right.
and a lot of people don't understand that, and they then think we're rude because we won't answer questions.
Right. And I think that's also where a lot of people don't see the boundary in it as well. So have you ever been denied somewhere, like at a restaurant, store, or anywhere that normally pets aren't allowed?
So I was actually denied in 2 different places. I was denied at a not pet friendly hotel.
How did that go?
So we were actually homeless at the time, my fiance and I, and we had kazoo with us, whatever. And we went in, and the manager had called the owner, and the owner said, "No, you are not allowed to have your dog there." And it ended up becoming a screaming match between me and them, trying to explain to them that you legally cannot deny my dog. And I ended up having to call the ADA and report them, and unfortunately, the ADA never did anything about it.
So I talked to Angel about this kind of stuff, and I asked her the same question, and she's like, and her advice to people was try to educate, but at the end of the day, if they're going to deny you, they're going to deny you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because even law enforcement, there's been instances where law enforcement doesn't help at all. They're like, well, they have the right to refuse anybody. Because that's where the gray area is that they have the right to refuse you service, but not because of your dog. But at this, and you've already got it on film saying that they can't deny, we're denying you because of your dog, but then they're going to sit there and say, oh, we're not denying you because of your dog, we're just denying you, we don't want to serve you. And I think that there should be that's where the gray area is, and I hate that because it's like we should have the right to go anywhere. Like everyone should know in the business industry, regardless if you know a service dog or not, you should know the ADA law like by heart. Like you should know the laws.
Exactly, and that's where I feel like, because I have worked in like restaurants and whatever, and I made sure that like my co-workers like knew the laws, and I feel like that should be part of training when you start a job, is you learn the ADA laws.
Exactly.
Right, and that's where like so many people don't understand, and it's like there's so many ways people could also then fake those ID cards.
Exactly.
Like you to fake a driver's license, everything else.
Right. So have you ever had any issues with like landlords or property owners or anything else like that when it came to your dog at all?
So I actually have with a landlord. I was staying with friends for a few weeks in their apartment, and the landlord ended up calling the police and had me escorted out of the property because of my service dog.
Do you want to go in deep of the story or no? Oh, no. If you don't want to, I understand.
No, it's okay. I can't. So we had happened to go get food and everything, and one of the neighbors that was a Karen saw my dog walk out and wasn't pet friendly, apartment building, and so she called the landlord bitching, and the landlord ended up showing up saying I need to get rid of my dog. And I said, okay. I said, I understand, sir. I said, I'm waiting for my mom to come get me, and we'll leave. Because I was like, it's not worth fighting over it. Like, because all it's going to do is get me worked up and end up getting in more serious issues. And so because I was not leaving fast enough, he ended up calling the police, and the police ended up escorting me out of the property in handcuffs.
Wow. I've had an instance like this when I just moved into my place now where, because I have an ESA and I have a service dog and everything, they wanted me to pay $200 each for my dog. I don't have that kind of money to pay $200 each, number one. Number two, you can't ask to pay extra money for an ESA nor service dog. And
Right.
I told him that I have a dog. I sent him the doctor's note for my dogs, saying that they're an ESA and a service dog. Like, I need to have these dogs for my well-being. And because of the date on there, it was like for like year 3 years ago, he said that it wasn't valid, but it never had an expiration date on there. And I had to call Fair Housing, and I said, "Hey, look, this is what's going on. I need you to call my landlord and tell them like this is not right, so that way I'm not getting kicked out because of my dogs." And we ended up being able to stay here, of course. The landlord did not like that, but I feel like nobody tells the stories behind landlord issues either. There's a lot of stories about restaurants and being denied at restaurants or fakes in stores, but no one talks about home life either. And I feel like some people need to get those stories out there so that way landlords can also know that they have rights too, but they only have the right to ask for a doctor's note, and that's it. Unless it has an expiration date on it, then you can ask for like a more valid note, or it's like 8 to 10 years old.
Right. And that's where like I feel the same way, because like when you do look on like TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or any form of social media, you always see about, oh, I was denied in a restaurant, oh, I was denied in a store, oh, I was denied, going to a hospital. But you never hear about like, oh, well, like my landlord's trying to kick me out because I have my service dog.
Right.
Or, my landlord's trying to charge me extra because I have a service dog or an ESA.
Right. And I think those need to be acknowledged as well, because I know a lot of people want to put out, oh, you can just get a thing online, but a lot of landlords know that those are scam websites, and you can just literally anyone can say that they have an ESA. Is if they get a professional psychiatrist to sit there and say, hey, look, I need this ESA, then that's different.
Right.
Because no one actually, I've had a lot of people ask me, how do I get an ESA? My family members, because they know I have a service dog and ESA, they're like, because my grandmother, she's coming into town this weekend. She was like, she has a puppy. She just got a brand new puppy a month ago. I want to train it to be a service dog because I have really bad anxiety, but I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, well, like, not to be an ass, but you have to have your psychiatrist, if you have anxiety like you say you do, if you had certain kind of medical issues that you need the dog to do, you have to get a doctor's note stating that you're disabled. Service dogs are only for people that are disabled, like, and they need it. Like, you could have a psychiatric service dog because you have really bad anxiety to where, like, and a psychiatrist notes that you need a psychiatric service dog, but if you have to have a doctor's note to say that, and then you can train the dog to be whatever you need. If you just want something that's like an ESA, you still need a doctor, like a psychiatrist, but you can't bring the dog everywhere with you.
Right.
And she likes to bring her dog. She lives in Tennessee, and she likes to bring her dog into Walmart. And when she just got her, she brought her into Walmart, had her on her, and everything was holding her. And I was like, I'm glad that you didn't put it in the cart, because that is the most disgustingest thing you can ever do. Well, why is that disgusting? If I put a blanket down, I was like, it doesn't matter, because number one, it's against health codes. Number two, there's anal juices on the dogs that we don't have that spew out. And no one wants dog anal juice on their food, let alone they're clean, but you don't know what they step in. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what their dog has.
Exactly, and that's where I get in so many arguments with people. They're like, well, you put your kids in a cart. Yes, but we know where our kids have been.
Exactly. But I'm not saying the carts are the most sanitized things in the world, but no. Kids have diapers, clothing on over it. Dogs don't wear clothes, don't wear shoes most of the time, so they go outside and they poop and pee outside. Our kids poop and pee in their diapers, and it's not the most sanitary thing, but they're also not really going towards near food as much as your dog is.
And then on top of that, if you get a dog that sheds, then you got hair all over the cart, which is not and like I have family members who are highly allergic to dogs, and it's like I would hate for them to get an allergic reaction because you put your dog in the cart and it shed all over the cart.
Right. Everyone talks about me with that. So what do you think the biggest misconception of service dog handlers is?
Probably the biggest one is that we're Karens.
I think we are to a certain extent, though.
I feel like we are when it comes to certain things, but like when it comes to like, hey, like your dog cannot be in here because like if it's going after someone's dog, that I can understand you being like, hey, like your pet can't be in here.
Right.
But like how I look at it, if the dog is sitting there minding its business, not getting into anything, and it's on the floor, I'm not gonna say anything.
Right. And that's where I'm at too, is anytime when I go out in public, I don't approach anybody with a dog unless I don't have my dog with me. And when I do approach somebody without my dog being there, because I don't want to put my dog in danger, but when I do approach somebody, and the only time I'm going to talk to them is if the dog is in the cart and cart only. I don't approach people unless I'm without a dog and they're in the cart. And then I'm like, hey, I just want to come up to you and talk to you real quick. I need to buy more, but I had ADA law cards that I just gave out with people. And I'm like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but this is the ADA law, and your dog is actually not allowed to be in carts. And I come at them in a approachable way, not trying to be rude or anything else like that, because some people may not even know. A lot of people, there's a million people in this world. Not all of them know the ADA law. Not all of them know about ESAs or anything else like that. So I go to them and I'm like, hey, look, I understand you may need your dog for a certain reason, and that's okay, because I have a service dog. But you can't have your dog in a cart because it's disgusting and it's against health code and it's against all these other reasonings. But if you need to have your dog with you on public, at least put it in a sling. If your dog is being well behaved and not barking at other people, put it in a sling.
Right, and like the only time I've ever said something to someone is like obviously when that like German Shepherd went after Kazoo. And then the one time I was walking in Walmart and someone had their pet in there and it was barking and growling at Kazoo and trying to get out of like the owner's arms to get to Kazoo. And so I handed Kazoo off to my fiance. I said, hey, take her over there so she's like not in harm's way. And I went and got a manager and then approached them and was like, hey, like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to be like mean. I don't mean to come off rude, but like, you cannot have your pet in here. Like, I said, because if my dog is missing an alert, that can cost me my life.
Right. I get, and I get that 110%, and I'm trying to do, and I don't try to be a Karen about it. I want to be able to post it on video as well, because my city, it's a one consent state law, so all I have to do is consent to being on camera, and that's it. But I don't even like to show the people. Like, I would record down and just say, hey, if they're rude about it and they're like, well, don't talk to me, I don't care about the laws, then I'm going to record you in your face and I'm going to say, hey, look, like, I'm trying to educate you and be nice and everything, but if you're going to be rude, then enjoy online.
Right, and like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll either put like my phone in like my pocket or I'll put it like on the cart or something to where they don't see the person's face, because it's a one-party state here as well. And that way, like, they can still hear the conversation, but I'm not showing anybody's face.
Right.
Respect for people.
Exactly. So what do you think the service dog community could be better in, as in like anything, like dealing with service dog and dealing with online presence, dealing with big service dogs? What do you think we can be better at?
So I definitely think we could be better at trying to fake spot. I feel like there's so many people that sit there and say, oh, well, you know, because I've had where like my dog's made like one little mistake and they're like, oh, well, she's a fake service dog. And I'm like, no, she's not. Like, she's a dog. She's gonna make mistakes. Like, yes, I don't condone her making mistakes and I correct her when she does.
But they're not robots.
Exactly. And she's still a puppy. So like, obviously she's gonna still make mistakes.
Right.
That and being so toxic.
Yes.
because I feel like no matter where you are in the community, whether you try to stay out of the drama or not, like there's always drama going on in the service dog community.
Right.
Whether it's, oh, you know, this person said this about me, or this person said that, or, you know, this person, you know, allowed their dog to make one mistake. And I'm like, really, y'all? Are we like high school where we're...
Yeah, I know, right? Most of us are adults here. I know that there was a beef a while ago about leash issues. And I have my dog on a tether leash where I'm able to drop it, it won't get in the way or anything like that. I don't mind people that have their dogs off leash, but I think everyone in the service dog community needs to have that tether leash at least, so that way you can grab it and have control of your dog and keep it on unless you need to let it go, because there are leash laws out there. Every dog, every service dog is supposed to be on a leash unless it affects your tasking.
I do with kazoos. I have her on, have it where like I use like a little traffic lead for her, because I could drop it, but it's still a quick grab if I need to be like, hey, like I need you over here, like come on.
What is the hardest part about training your own service dog?
Definitely having to, with me, it's the self-doubt that I'm doing it correctly. Because I always fear, you know, well, what if I screw up my dog? What if I do this? What if I do that? You know, and I have to learn to be like, you know, if I do something wrong, okay, it happens, and we'll try again tomorrow.
And that's a good insight and view, because I feel like a lot of us owner trainers have the same thing, is what we're worried about it. So what is the worst thing about having a service dog?
Definitely having to worry about people trying to come up and mess with my dog when I'm not like alert. So like whether it's I'm having a seizure or I'm having like a PTSD episode and I'm not alert, because I've had people try to come up and try to steal her from me as I was out.
So my last question for you is what does having a service dog mean to you, and how has it affected your life in a better way?
So it definitely has affected my life in a better way, with being able to have my freedom back. Being able to go out with friends and be a normal, like, 21-year-old female and not have to worry about, oh, well, you know, I can't go out because what if I have a seizure? You know, what if I have this? What if I have that? But definitely having a service dog to me means being able to live my life and be able to know that I have someone who's always going to be there by my side to help me no matter what.
Right. And like I said, I agree with you 100% on that, because that's how I feel, because I have seizures as well. And with being a mom of 2 under 2 and going out to grocery stores by myself, it was, if I didn't have my dog with me, it would have been impossible. Because if I were to have a seizure out of the blue, my kids could get hurt. And I've had it to where he's able to get me out, like protect myself to where like I'm not going to fall and get hurt. I'm able to, I don't usually go out without somebody with me anyways, due to the fact that I could have a seizure and I have little kids, but it makes me more confident to go out.
Right. And that's definitely where I feel like where I've been working on it, where like if I go out, I either have someone on the phone with me so they could call 911 if I have to, or I have someone with me. Because not only that, like say, you know, something happens where I need them to hold a leash, then I'm not having to worry about, okay, where's my dog?
Right.
You know, if something were to happen.
Right. So I want to say thank you so much for doing this interview, taking time out of your day. And if you guys haven't already, go subscribe to her TikTok. It's down below and everything. She's an amazing person that has training her own service dog, I should say. And she has a lot of content out there. And please go follow her. Do you want to say anything else before we go?
Thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate you allowing me on. And y'all, please subscribe to her. Please give her some love. And hope y'all have a great day.
complicate, it's a dream. And I pray as a team, one day it'd be me. If I want it, then I get it. Head down, don't